This unassuming jerk is a bribed getaway driver. When things go wrong and the bad guys want to congratulate his girl, he's fighting for his life. As the red car approaches a bank, we can now see the faces of the men in the car. The passengers all appear to be thieves. The lady appears to have the potential to steal my heart, so that counts, but the driver just looks like a baby. And you won't believe it when I tell you his name is Baby. As Baby begins to play music on his iPod, the rest of the guys get out of the car. They enter the bank with their belongings from the trunk. The babies are putting on a show in the car while they are at the bank. He is brought back to reality when a cop car passes by. When he sees his guys rounding off in the bank, he knows it's showtime. As his guns flee the bank and into the car, which he quickly reverses, he is preparing himself. Then he makes a sharp turn and he's on his way. The cops are hot on his tail, but he's doing well to avoid them. About 5 police cars are now pursuing him. He eventually ends up in the middle of 2 more red cars. A police helicopter chases him down the highway, but he enters the bridge and quickly switches lanes, with the car on the left. They abandon the red car in a parking lot, change their clothes and vehicles, and are driven away by the lady. We can see that Baby enjoys walking around with his earphones on. He walks into a coffee shop. This is how you walk when you've just received a large payout. He orders 4 coffees and returns to where the rest of the guys are just as the money is being distributed. Doc is dividing the money, and Griff is wondering if the baby is driving. According to Rude Duck, the R word means slow. I mean, was he slow? Doc describes him as a good kid who drives like the devil. Griff, on the other hand, is adamant about keeping it. He's still on Baby's ass, which is odd. The men have now departed. When Baby returns home, he places the wad of cash in an underground compartment in the living room, where there are other wads of cash. When the baby asks his foster father Joe if he's hungry, he always says, "I'm hungry too." As the baby prepares breakfast, Joe sees his son on the news as a robbery suspect. As a result, when Baby arrives with the food, he questions him about where he got the money. Baby simply states that it is from work and promises to do one more job before he is finished. Joe informs the baby that he does not belong in that world. Baby is bored late at night and decides to make music out of a recorded conversation. He quotes Doc when he says the R word means slow. He does an excellent job and is pleased with himself. So he sits back, listens to what he's done. He chooses one of the mom tapes, which transports him back to the car accident that killed both of his parents. Instead of picking up the tape, he grabs his old iPod, gives it a quick glance, then grabs his phone and walks out. He's now sitting in Bo's diner when this lady named Debora walks in, singing a song with the lyrics, "Baby Baby," which he quickly records as he stares at her, almost missing her walking back towards him. She approaches him and asks what he wants. She is also very friendly. You might think she's flirting with you if she's friendly. The burner will vibrate if you are not careful while they are talking. He says he's a driver when she asks what he does. She then expresses envy, stating that sometimes all she wants to do is travel west. Baby expresses an interest in the same. Now the chef clears his throat aloud. To break the ice, just before she leaves, Baby compliments her on her beauty. It's a classic case of love at first sight. I can't believe she's still singing that song as she walks away. Baby inquires about the song, and the next thing we see is him purchasing the record and dancing to it. To break up the fun, the doc has a new job. Eddie meets the new crew after making stock at the new location. JD followed by Bats is a no-no. The guys are perplexed as to why Baby is always listening to music, and Doc explains that he has tinnitus as a result of a childhood accident. This means his ear is constantly ranking Bats. The next day, we see the crew in the car arrive at the target location, and a man has his eyes on that somewhere around the corner. In any case, he appears suspicious. JD tosses the mess to Bats and Eddie while Baby begins his song, but just as Baby begins driving away, that suspicious man tries to stop them. He runs into them and even shoots at them. He's probably ex-military because the revolvers and Glocks he's pulling out are heavy. But he has no idea he's dealing with a baby, so he flees. They're now on the highway, and they notice that the military man is still tailing them. Batch attempts to shoot him, but Baby avoids him by swerving away. He crashes so badly that Baby continues to drive, and they become stuck in traffic, so they all come down and steal the car at the front of the line. Despite the fact that the woman is carrying a baby, Bats takes control of the car. They drive away while still in the car as the light turns green. They quickly arrive at a parking lot, switch cars, and split up. Baby goes to get a cup of coffee when they arrive at the rendezvous location. He's not as upbeat as he was the last time he returned to learn that JD had been made to vanish forever. Baby and Doc then transport the bags to the car. Doc hands him a wad of cash and tells him he's paid off everything. We cut to the ride being squeezed and crushed, and all of this transports Baby back to his childhood, when he saw his mother perform. When he saw his father beating her up, the accident brings him back to the present. He just walks away after listening to a song on his iPod and throwing his gloves on the burner. When he returns to Bo's diner, Debora is the first person he sees. Debora's coworker believes the baby's mother worked here previously. Debora walks over to his table, drops the coffee, and starts talking to him. They mostly talk about music, and Debbie is a singer. She grabs his tape recorder and starts singing into it. There is genuine chemistry between these two. Debora simply asked if his mother used to work here, and he replied that she did on occasion. He then says nothing when she asks what she does now. They say a few more irrelevant things before heading to the laundromat. She enjoys the song he played for her, and they begin to converse. They set a proper date, and now we see a very happy baby at home. He tells Joe a few details about Debora. Then he hands Doc the cash wand and tells Joe. Jonah tells him he's done for real now and to go get a job as a pizza delivery guy because wouldn't it be great to bring joy to people? Baby agrees and goes to get the job when he drives. The next thing we see is Baby and Debbie on a date. You can tell they're having a good time until the waiter arrives and informs them that the bill has already been paid. So the baby goes to Doc, and you guessed it, he desires him for another position. Baby initially says no, but the doctor tells him he'll break his legs and kill everyone he loves if he does. If there is no chill here, Baby has no choice but to change his mood, which Debora notices while driving. Back at home, she tries to get him to talk, but he is unable to tell her what is going on. Can he? But if the lips can't talk, there's always something else they can do. The next day, the doctor arrives to pick him up and they drive to the post office. The job is scheduled for tomorrow, but he needs Baby to go in there today to learn more about the location, the number of customers, employees, security cameras, whether or not the security guard is armed, and so on. Doc advises him to go in with his nephew Sam because it is less suspicious, but the little boy is crucial. For more than erasing suspicion while Baby is still struggling to take everything in, Baby goes upstairs and dials Debora's number. He has an appointment with Doc tonight, so their plans have been cancelled. She claims she thought he had stopped driving, and he claims he did as well. This is not what he desires. She then asks what he wants, to which he replies, "I want to go west on 20. He arrives at the new cruiser, a mix of the old one's Bats and then Buddy and Darling. Those two appear to be part of the same package. They exchange some small talk before Buddy walks over to Baby and they begin to bond. Yes, you guessed it, music and fast cars. They're listening to a song together, which annoys Bats who believe music is unnecessary. To drive, simply drive. Doc arrives and interrupts the conversations to go to the post office, as well as the tools they'll need tonight. They pick up their goods and will spend the night here, and they're off. Bats asks Baby to pull over because he wants to be. He does. Bats gets off and the lovebirds are at it again as they're hanging out. This little man in all white removes a cloth and viola as well as various firearms and grenades. If you thought this was going to be a simple purchase, think again because things are about to get very complicated. The first shot is taken by light up Bats, and the game quickly escalates into a full-fledged shootout. They kill the other guys, but Darling takes a bullet to the hand. Darling and Buddy are now yelling at the Bats, but he explains that he began shooting because he noticed a PD written on one of the boxes and assumed the guys were cops. They leave in a different car than the one they arrived in, and Bats throws a grenade into the car that the guy just tried to flee in before they hit the highway. While driving, Bats tells Baby to stop at Bo's diner because he's hungry. Bats can't understand being told no, so he yells and the Baby stops the car. Baby says he doesn't want to go in there, and we all know why, but he can't tell us why. So he claims it's because the game is bad, but Bats knows it's more than that, so insists on everyone going in. Debora is on duty, and the Baby has a strange expression on his face. The mean-looking men behind him don't help matters either. They have a scene, and Debora arrives to take their orders. He tells him that he used to be a stockbroker before becoming engulfed in debt, which drove him into the world of crime. Buddy's expression indicates that he is correct. Darling comes down with Buddy and tells Bats that he thinks he knows them but doesn't. He informs him that he does not wish to see Buddy. Debora arrives with the drinks, and as she leaves, Bats Baby asks if he knows who she is. He denies her in the same way that Peter denied Jesus, and Bats pulls out his gun to go clap her. Baby says okay, tells him to tip the nice lady, and then leaves. The crew returns to base, and the first thing Doc says is that he doesn't normally hear the word bananas. When his clients complete a transaction, they call him, say the word bananas, and hang up, but he didn't hear bananas tonight. So he's going bananas bazzing a guy who says his class is full of cops. Doc, however, is not satisfied. He cancels the job and tells him to leave town, but Bats says he's not leaving. He suggests driving into the storm. Doc then inquires as to who will fence the money order. Since he shot the fan's bat, he claims to have a boyfriend, but he denies it. He does, but he wants to hear from Baby. He says it's his decision, and Baby votes yes. Then he starts picturing himself with Debora before snapping back to reality at around 2 a.m. and now he tries to sneak out but not so quickly. Naturally, he finds Buddy waiting for him, but he asks him where he's going. Coffee is not a wise answer, but he is now telling Baby that if he is only in this for the buzz, if driving is just an escape for him, he should leave and never return. Thanks for the brilliant suggestion, boss. But then the bats arrive to ruin everything. He's holding Baby's tiny recorder and asking him why he's recording them. He's holding a revolver to his face and asking if he's a cop. They asked him to play one of his recordings at the time, but he said they were all at home. As a result, they knock him out cold and go get all of his recordings. When he wakes up, he's in front of the entire crew, and his tapes are on the table. Doc asks Baby to explain, but all he can think about is Joe. When he asked what they did to him, bats flew out of Joe's wheelchair, which is not a good sign. He inserts a tape, and it's the slow one, Darling, as said by the doctor, who selects the one name. I'll find another driver for tomorrow. But Baby stands up and says, no, you're not getting a new driver. Tomorrow, I'll be your driver. Meanwhile, Debora is impatiently waiting at the diner. It's a little cloudy the next day when the crew hits the road. When they arrive at the post office, Buddy and Darling drop off at the front door, while Baby and Bats go around back to where Bats drops off. While waiting in his car, Baby notices a woman approaching the post office. She waves at him, and he shakes his head. The guys come out and Bats clap the cop before getting in the car, but the baby does not move. Bats is yelling at him to drive, but he's just staring. Bats threatens to shoot him if he doesn't move in 3 minutes. So Baby just slams on the gas and collides with the truck ahead of them, which had a rod poking out. The rod runs straight into the bat's chest, and that's the end of the story. Baby, Buddy, and Darling flee, and before they know it, cops are all over them. Before they join, Buddy and Darling shoot for a while. The cops are apparently pursuing Baby and run. Baby is not only quick behind the wheel, but also quick on his feet. Take a look at how much ground he's covering. He runs into a mall, changes his clothes, and tries to walk away like normal, but the cops still spot him and pursue him. He's fleeing as if he stole something. But wait, he did steal something, or at the very least assisted others in stealing something. He escapes to the parking lot and successfully breaks into a car. This is where you've really lost him. Before he can even leave the parking lot, his baby collides with a truck. Guess who's in the truck with you? Darling and Buddy. He tries to pick up his iPod, but his friend shoots it. Baby now stops an elderly lady and takes her car, but he does not simply drive away. He turns and tosses her back to her before driving home. When he gets home, he discovers Joe on the floor. The entire house is disorganized. He grabs his wads of cash, stops them in Joe's jacket, and dials Bo's diner. When the cook answers the phone, he simply tells him to tell her that the baby is comical. He hangs up and takes out his iPod. He obviously has a lot of these and carries Joe down to the car. He drives another car, not the one he arrived in. He drives Joe to an old people's home and records a message in which he tells the listener all about Joe. Joe asks Baby if he'll return, and he says he doesn't know yet. Joe tells him to look after Debora, and then an Atlanta Police Department chopper arrives, flashing its bright lights, but the baby vanishes just in time. We can now see him walking into Bo's diner. Baby is here for his baby, but Buddy is here for him right now. Darling and Bat's faces are shown on TV as the robbers, who are confirmed, but he says a few words about Darling before picking up his pistol and pointing at Debora. He asks Baby if he loves her, and he says yes, but it's too bad. A police car pulls up outside. The cops only want to use the restroom, but he motions for the baby to sit beside him. He grabs one of his friends and vibes to the song. Baby shoots Buddy in the chest as he turns to respond. There is chaos everywhere. Debora is grabbed by the baby and escapes through the back door. While the cop in the car rushes into the restaurant, Baby tells Debora he has to leave, but Debora says she'll accompany him, so they leave together. Then it would just be music in the road, she says, and just as she says that, a sweet red Mustang pulls up. Baby takes control of the car. They arrive at a parking lot and come to a halt. Doc informs him that he requires the tapes. Baby tells him he has the money orders in the back. He's holding the bag, and he'll trade it for just one of the tapes. Doc still says no, but when Debora walks in, he changes his mind. He hands them a bag of cash and tells them that should be enough. Why is he being so nice, you ask? Because he was in love, and when the elevator door opened, they saw 3 men shooting at them. Doc tells them to flee while he attends to them. Doc is shot, so maybe and Debora stop to check on him. Doc tells them to leave as the cop car arrives. He'll deal with the cops, but not those cops. It's Buddy. This man has truly survived everything, but he listens to it in the car at maximum volume. Duck begins shooting at him. Buddy easily runs over him. He slams into another car. Baby seizes the opportunity to pick up a car key from the floor. He then pulls a gun from his pocket. He shoots but doesn't get Muddy, so he jumps on the car and his buddy slams into the wall. Baby and Debora get into a car, and both cars begin a head-to-head race. Baby is reversing, while Buddy is facing forward. Baby gets Buddy to slam into another car. Then he removes his seatbelt and tells Debora we're leaving. We must put an end to this. By the time Buddy has returned, Baby and Debora have left the car. He's driving around calling out for the baby when he notices Debora standing alone, and she says now out of nowhere. Baby arrives in a truck and drives into Buddy's car, pushing it over the railing, but Buddy gets out just in time and survives. The baby gets out of the car and looks down at the burning cop car downstairs. He shoots so close to Baby's ears that Baby is holding his ears and breathing in pain on the floor. But before Buddy goes to attend to Debora, she grabs a rod from the cart and begins hitting him with it. That's enough to get Baby to pick up a revolver and clap Buddy with it. He shoots at him, but he eventually dies. He falls and lands right on the burning car, which explodes. The next thing we know, it's morning, and Debora is driving with the baby in the front seat. He's only recently awakened. Debbie is playing with his mother's tape, and everything appears to be going well until they reach a bridge that is blocked by cops. The cops arrive and arrest him. Following that, we see him being transported to jail and hear Debora discussing him in court. Following her, we see the old lady whose car he stole but returned her purse, followed by the other lady who he signaled not to enter. In any case, the judge sentences him to 25 years in prison with the possibility of parole. I guess it's not that bad after 5 years of service. Baby is seen receiving a letter from Debora in prison. She says it's pictures and some really sweet words. She can't wait for the day when it chooses the two of them music and the road, and it appears his dream has finally come true. The moral of the story is that love at first sight is the least believable aspect of this film.